Going live. We're going live. There we go. We've gone live, everybody. Just to welcome everybody that's dialing in for today's general session, the John Lavinia Success Mastermind group, where we all come together to mutually support our efforts and discuss issues to help everyone forward. And we've had some really, really great sharing. So it's brilliant to be in these sessions. It always gives me lots of ideas, lots of thoughts, things sometimes that are obvious that we just don't focus on for a long time, that drop out of our consciousness. So I love being on these calls. So we're coming up to the top of the hour and people are still dialing in. While we are starting, it's worth mentioning that Ivier is with us today on this call. Welcome, Ivier. And Ivier is one of our great presenters. She will be presenting at 5 p.m. today, Eastern Time, US. Is that 11 in the UK? Oh, that's 10 in the UK, I think. 10 in the UK.
Yeah, 10.
10 in the UK. There you go. So Ivier's on at 10 UK time, 5 p.m. Eastern Time with Corporate Curios, which is a great way of listening in and understanding more about personnel, management, relationships, business, how things operate and the challenges that confront you, particularly when you're trying to run teams and projects and people, because it all comes down to people at the end of the day. So I am going to mute everybody so we can kick off for today. Welcome again. Do dive in if anyone wants to dive in at any point. Reminded today that it's the 1st of June, in case we hadn't noticed. I know the day got off to a quick start, but in case we hadn't noticed, it is the 1st of June, and that is the solstice month, where the Druids turn up at Stonehenge in the UK to celebrate the summer solstice and the sun's awakening at that point. So this is really a high point from which we can survey the year. That's what occurred to me. In nautical terms, and I used to live in well, I still do live in a nautical nation, I guess. I was brought up in a nautical nation, and we would talk often about slack water. And that is the time just between the reversal of the tides, when the water is absolutely still. The tide's coming and it hasn't yet gone out. There's a period called slack water. And that's a great image for me for this time of the year. We're on the turn of the year when we're up to the longest day, coming up on the 21st of June. We'll get to slack water and the tide will start to go out on 2021, but go out in a positive sense for us in this group, because it's carrying us forward onto what I describe as an ocean of opportunity. So this is not a bad time of the year for us. It's a good zenith from which to survey what's happened and what we've done. Really also to look at my state of readiness, all of our states of readiness. And as I would describe it, following on the nautical allusions, time to check the ship as the tide starts to turn on the year, to see what shape we're in as we sail forward to these opportunities that we're pursuing in 2021. So welcome everyone that's just dialed in. I now see Gail, I see Carl, Janet was there, I was speaking to Ivier, Edward, Daisy, Lindsay's there, Sandy's there, Robin, John Apogee. So dialing in faster than I can call you out. So welcome everybody, great to see you. And I'm looking forward to hearing your thoughts. Make notes as you go, because I really would like to hear from everybody. This is not just about us presenting, it's about participation and sharing ideas. So as I was just saying, everybody, solstice month, longest day coming up, turn of the year, and in nautical terms, slack water for me as the tide turns and starts to go out, but carries all of us towards these opportunities we've been pursuing. And what struck me is that I wanted to take one sort of important aspect of that today. It's been playing on my mind a lot recently. I read once one of the most striking things I've ever read, which has always stuck with me, and that is you are a marketplace. So we are all individual marketplaces. We're literally setting out our stall in the market. If you've ever been to a market, and they have them in every town in France still, once a week, you turn up at the market, there are stalls everywhere. Everyone is setting out their stall and hoping you'll buy from them. And that's where we really are in this huge mass of issues we're dealing with, all this information that's being thrown at us, all our ideas that are floating around that we've noted down about great products, great services. We're setting out our stall. We are a marketplace individually. So we have to sell ourselves. We've got to do that. It's true not just for us as individuals, obviously as people, we're selling ourselves every minute of the day, but it's true for a non-profit and for a business. Non-profits have to raise funds to distribute to people. The business has to set out its stall so that we all go forward, look at the stall and hopefully buy something, whether it's a service or a product. But it takes on obviously a much more serious meaning when we're embarking on a business venture, because we are selling at so many different levels constantly. So whereas we've always been unconsciously perhaps selling ourselves as an individual marketplace when we go and apply for a job or a place on a team, for example, now we're trying to sell our wares, and that's a whole different ballgame. We are the marketplace. The business that each of us is setting up is a marketplace, and we're now in this huge global marketplace, the internet. So I'm not sure how that strikes you, but it struck me with force when I read it years ago, focusing on the idea that we are a market stall in a marketplace selling things really always brings it home to me. And some of us in society are still incredibly unaware of that fact. They think it's a given that somebody will take them on the team, employ them, pay them to do something. But, they're just not aware that they're selling themselves every time they try and engage. And they're in a much larger marketplace full of employers, for example. We set out the wares every day that we want to sell. We have to interact with people. We have to, whether it's an employer or a customer. We've got to create the conditions we need to get people to come to us, to attract people to us. And there's just a lack of consciousness on the part of many people. And we owe it to ourselves really to develop that consciousness, in my view. And it's something I really try and work on now. Why should somebody come to me? Why? But we're responsible for our own failures. It's not the case we can go around saying, oh, it was somebody else's fault. This is the stall. This is you. You're the stall holder. You're shouting out and selling the wares. It is down to us. Some people are just not aware. They're not really turning up. They're just not there. They just think it's all going to happen by some magic autopilot, magic wand being waved. And to give you an extreme example, I'll admit, of a lack of consciousness, I was involved in a building project. We were having something built at some point. I won't name the country because that could cast them in a very bad light. You'll see why in a minute. We went to inspect the work, as we did regularly, to see what had happened that day. And we got into the garage, as we call it in the UK, not the garage. And a plumber had installed a pipe along a wall, straight pipe, right along the back wall. But then at the end, on the left-hand side, the pipe went round a bag of cement, then back to the wall and carried on. And we stood there aghast, really. They ran the pipe around the bag of cement. They didn't move the bag of cement. Now, I call this the parable of the pipe, but it reminds me of being conscious and aware in everything we do. Although it's an extreme example, are you conscious of who you are, what you're doing, and why you're doing it? Otherwise, you can end up just lazily and unconsciously laying a pipe around a bag of cement and not thinking, hey, why am I doing that? So if we don't pay attention to all of those things, we can end up with a customer or a work colleague that's looking strangely askance at a bulge in a straight pipe and thinking, what went on here? Where were you? And we've got to remember that in everything we do. So this being a marketplace runs through everything we're taking on in the group, all the businesses that I'm so excited to see everybody launching. This is right in the middle. It's the centerpiece. So what does it mean to be a marketplace? Well, for me, yes, it's come up constantly in our group discussions. I know that in the John Lavinia Success Mastermind group, we've talked about this often, but in effect, every day, constantly, we're putting ourselves forward for selection, to be selected. And I don't mean that negatively. We've got to be who we are. We can't fake it. We've got to be our genuine selves. But there are aspects of ourselves that we can certainly work on to improve our offer, to improve what we bring, to improve the solutions we're trying to sell to whoever we think wants to buy them. So, we're putting ourselves forward for selection by the team, by the employer, by the client, by the customer, for the goods. And that's something we can just never forget, because the moment we forget that and we decouple from that, we're going to stop selling things. And we all know what that means. Even worse, and you see this, you see these giant chains that have dominated countries and towns for decades, and you think, well, hang on a minute, they've gone into decline. They had everything. What happened? Well, in a lot of cases, they simply lost focus on who the customer was and what the marketplace was they were in, and what their stall was selling and why nobody wanted it anymore. And even when they could see that it was obvious something had changed and people were buying less from the stall, they still didn't act on it when they could have done. And we all might find that really Quite surprising, but it's so easy to go down that track. So easy to go down that track. So some examples of us being a marketplace and being very conscious of this: everything we say and do is judged, whether it's judged by the client, by a family member, by an employer. We are being judged on everything we do. Everything we purport to stand for is being judged, particularly now in the social media arena, when 5 minutes later you could get mass exposure and be judged on something you've claimed to be doing, or that you haven't done when you did claim you were going to do it. Our whole attitude is being judged. Whether we're aiming to exceed a customer's expectations is being judged by that customer. The attention to detail that we bring is being judged. And the whole quality of our ideas, our planning, our preparation, people are judging that too. They're looking at what we send out. They're looking at all the communications we send, even our emails. Are they properly corrected and checked? Do they make sense? Are they nicely laid out? All these things, believe it or not, people notice. In the old days, way back, they would notice whether your shoes were polished, but they can't see your shoes anymore. They can only see the polish on your website and the polish in your email and the polish on your product. That's all they can see. And you will be judged on that. We're all being judged on that as we go along. So, whether we're turning up and being present really matters. We've got to be present, conscious and thinking, and we've got to really care. Whether we really care is being judged. Do they really believe we care about them, care about what we've said we're going to do? Or is this just some sort of marketing spiel? People will see through that. And, remember also, we can't be what we call an also-ran in a horse race in any of these areas. We've got to be one of the competitors if we want to be a successful marketplace. We've got to put our offer to a level where we are going to successfully be able to sell it and compete with other people that have really given it their all and focused on their idea. So what do we have to do? Well, John's presented many books to us that we can look at. I think they're listed in the Facebook group. I'm not sure if anyone's got the list to hand, but by all means post it if you do. Those contain lots of ideas. I was going to focus on a few things today. Really, one of them, which always strikes me, is generating high levels of vibration, positivity, and just really energy, enthusiasm. And the more we do that, the more people will come to us. And I really experience that a lot and believe it. You can tell when people are engaging with you. You can feel that. So we have to generate this energy, this drive, this passion, this vibrancy, positivity directly when we're in person. But then we also have to be able to produce it indirectly when we're going through an internet channel, through another channel. We're not in front of these people. So we have to convey this passion and vibration and our personality through these indirect channels we've all been learning about. And those channels now represent you and your thinking. That's your shop window. You don't have a shop on the high street anymore. You have a shop window onto the world, which anyone can dial into and check out. It's a great opportunity, but not so great if you're not taking it seriously and we don't really put our full energy into being it and creating this wonderful stall that's so attractive, people can't fail but come there. So we have to have maximum focus on this. And I know John and Shannon both talk to us about this all the time. They're expert communicators. They've helped us a lot with that, and they can help us even more. So if anyone's in doubt, always contact John and Shannon. They really focus on this aspect. How do we convey to people that don't know us who we are and what we're about, what we stand for, the story that's behind us, what we're actually wishing to achieve? We have to lay these things now out on our table, on our stall. People want to see them. They want to understand them. They're much more discerning about who they're dealing with. I mean, only today again, we're hearing stories now about food companies being questioned on the health qualities of their food. And a very, very large, possibly the largest global food manufacturer issued a report today which said that 50% of its products, I believe it was 50, were not actually healthy, potentially. So, there's focus now on oil revenues, what you're doing to the environment, the quality of your product, the healthiness of your product. All of these things are the story behind us. It's true on the internet. It's true in person. It's always been true. Edward's talked to us a lot. He's on the call today. Hi, Edward. He's talked to us a lot about being in person because he used to be 100% in person, sitting in front of people. And boy, was it a shock to the system when COVID lockdowns meant he couldn't go to see these people anymore. He couldn't sit in front of them. And he'll tell you straight, that was a big disruption, a complete fracturing of his marketplace. So he's having to reinvent his stall and focus on these indirect communications, which are now dominant in all of our lives. It's true as well, if we're tendering an official request for a proposal or a tender, we have to understand and convey our story and make sure we understand the customer. You've got to be aware, you've got to be really present, not going through the motions on a checklist saying, yes, I've ticked this, I've got that box, I've got the email link, I've got this. Why? What's behind it? What has this got to do? What does this have to do with my story? The way we present makes all the difference. But the message behind has got to be very, very clear as well. Presentation, great, hyper important. We're going to get hammered over it time and time again, quite rightly. But the message behind it has to be clear. So let's just look around now. If you've got it on gallery view, have a look around the Zoom room. How many of us on this call are clear about the marketplace that each of the other people represents, what their stall is about? Are we all clear on that? Because probably not. Do I know what Ali is standing for and what she's claiming to bring at the moment? Do I know what Gail is doing? Do I know what Lindsay's doing, what Mark is doing? Are they getting their message out to us clearly? Are we understanding their message clearly? This is a selection process. So this Zoom room is the equivalent of the forum we're going to step into when we try and sell to people. So let's be really aware of the people on this call and the fact they represent myriads of other people that are going to see us and our presentation out there on the net, and how we're going to engage. How do we convey that message? Well, second thing that struck me, of course, is we've got to tell a story. That's another key thing we've all been taught. We've been born into a generation with massive opportunity, with possibly the greatest opportunity in decades, the World Wide Web. It's a phenomenon. It's a liberator of ideas. It's broadened our horizons. I mean, look what's happened over the past year of pandemic to all of us in this room. It's broadened our horizons beyond measure, beyond anything we probably thought was possible a year ago. And it's now presented us with this challenge of how to use it, how to tell our story in this new wonderful forum. Great quote that I saw in looking at notes for today. The net is not television. It is the finest direct marketing mechanism in the history of mankind. It is direct mail with free stamps, and it allows you to create richer and deeper relationships than you've ever been able to create before. That's what Seth Godin said about it. And he knows. And wow, is that powerful? And it brings it right home to me again. Yes, I used to dream of being able to market to people en masse, get to them with a message. We used to have to traipse around, and we could only do that in our local area with flyers, with pieces of paper, with telephone calls. It was hard work to get to a mass audience, to break out of even your little town. The communications weren't the same. So nothing has changed really, other than that now we have this huge opportunity at much lower cost to break into a marketplace. It became a whole lot easier to contact millions of people, certainly hundreds of thousands, or at least tens of thousands, at a much more flexible and scalable cost. So we really have been presented with this dream package. We are living in the age of dreams, as I often tell myself, and the age of access to all. So we can really now set out our wares and our services and ideas if we really choose to. And a lot has been written about how to do this. There's a lot of help and advice out there. So, you know, please get it. Don't struggle on our own if we really feel we're not hitting the target. There are things we can do to hit the target, to fix how well we're hitting the target. And we have to invest in that. This is like investing in a shop, only now we don't have the bricks and mortar cost of being on a street with a shop. We can apply our budget in a flexible, scalable way, but we still have to spend money. We still have to advertise and promote. And this is about telling a story, genuine stories that engage with people, genuine stories that create what they call your tribe of followers. You're trying to build followers who come back to you time and time again and want to listen to you, want to see what it is you've brought forward, what you've made, what it is you've created, what solutions you're bringing to them. You know, we can make a whole bunch of attractive slides, we can put attractive packaging on our products, but it's no good if the content's no good. So focus on the content behind, the story behind, the ideas behind what it is you're packaging, what it is you're wrapping up in that lovely box. And one phrase sticks in mind that I heard years ago: putting good web pages on a poor service or good packaging on a poor product is like putting lipstick on a pig. And that's a phrase we have in the UK, which I've never forgotten. It's true. But by the way, before we receive any complaints, no offense to pigs, of course. So we don't want any angry emails to John at this point. But it does bring it home. We have to get behind the product and the service features, just bland features in a list, and get down to the why. Why would I go to Edward for what he is selling? Why do I want to buy the insurance from him rather than the next guy? What is Edward doing and what's his story and how's he conveying that to me so that I know he's there, I understand his stall, I see its place in this marketplace I'm standing in, and I walk over to his stall rather than the competing stall on the other side of the market. We've got to be able to explain why. We've got to tell a story, and we've got to engage with the people listening to the story in a really meaningful way. It's crucial to selling your stall. Otherwise, they're going to buy somebody else's cheese. They'll go to the other cheese stall. So if we're thinking stories, we've got to think about how we're telling it. It's structure and delivery of the story. It's like writing a book. We're not looking when we read the book at the list of ISBN numbers and disclaimers in the front. We're looking at the story. We're trying to understand the story. Don't focus on the features. It's the ideas behind the features that count. And this is how Apple and Steve Jobs broke through and created the most massive market we've ever seen in smartphones and in other services and products behind them. They always focused on what it was about. What was the big idea? They made a big splash in an annual presentation with the big idea. Not that it had 5 gig or 1 gig or whatever it was. It was, what was it all about? What was he going to do for us? So make sure we know who we're addressing and really understand that customer. Is this story relevant to them? Have we told it in a way they can understand? So let's not fill our stall with blue cheese in a hard cheese market, as I would put it in our market analogy today. A couple of books I would recommend. The book Resonate, it's called Resonate by Nancy Duarte. Very good on focusing on presentation being important, but the story and the structure of the story behind the presentation being crucial, which is why she wrote that follow-on book from an original book that focused more on the slides and the presentation. And then there are a whole series of books about Steve Jobs, one of which is Presentation Secrets of Steve Jobs by Carmine Gallo. Now, that is brilliant. It focuses on what is obvious when you think about it, but it's about that story and how to get it across. Second thing in this chunk, if you like, is we've got to be outstanding. We have to stand out. Seth Godin again, he said, in a crowded marketplace, fitting in is a failure. In a busy marketplace, not standing out is the same as being invisible. Seth Godin. You could just be invisible with a stall. People walk past. How many times have you gone to a farmer's market and just walked past because something about that stall has not even attracted one part of your eye, even the corner of your eye, and you've walked straight past to something you've seen in the distance? That's happened to me a lot. So we can translate that to ourselves. We have to work out how to stand out, because while the net is a huge opportunity, it's a huge market. And you've got to get your beacon alight and get it burning, because otherwise no one's going to see you. So that's the challenge. Third thing I wanted to talk about was the knowledge building that we've talked about before. Let's not forget, as we develop this stall and we keep building it, that we've just got to keep learning, keep paying to get new skills, keep paying for training and coaching and everything else that we've been doing, keep paying for the books, reading the downloads that we can get, a lot of which are free, giving us guidance. We have to keep learning. Another quote by Andrew Ng. He said, Elon Musk is worried about AI apocalypse, but I am worried about people losing their jobs. The society will have to adapt to a situation where people learn throughout their lives, depending on the skills needed in the marketplace. And I agree with that. And we've discussed it many times again. Knowledge is important in the context of our being a marketplace, because it's all part of what we're selling. We can't stand still, particularly as things are accelerating. We have to keep refreshing and updating what it is we've launched. Otherwise, we end up as a one-horse, one-product business, and we all know where that leads. You go down a one-horse, one-product cul-de-sac and end up with a brick wall in front of you. And we can't do that. We can't do that. There are many people every day starting out that we're competing with. So to serve, to understand, and to keep serving and understanding, I really believe in that knowledge gathering. We should be every day trying to learn something new about the area we're in, learning something new about the problem we think we're solving for that client, learning something new about what those customers need or want, is we've really got to understand that. And John is 100% clear on this. Whenever you talk to him about an idea, he will say, what am I trying to solve? Who am I solving this for? Who are these people? He focuses absolutely on that. And lastly, fourthly, if you like, consistency and reputation. This market stall has a reputation and it has to be consistently good. Our values and our thoughts are going to shine through in this market stall, marketplace we're running. Alternatively, they're going to stick out like a sore thumb if they've been poorly done or they're shoddy, and we don't constantly spruce them up and refresh them. And I'm reminded of a former business colleague who used to check every letter that went out of the office and the alignment of the postage stamps and insisted they were perfect. He wanted their clients to see perfection in every aspect of our business. Every contact they had with us had to be perfect so they could see that we cared about the detail in everything we did. And that's the length to which he went to make sure we were conveying that. So let's invest in everything we do, every corner of our business. Our reputation depends on it, our business depends on it, and our marketplace depends on it. As Brian Koslow put it, there is no advertisement as powerful as a positive reputation traveling fast. Here, I absolutely agree with that. Abraham Lincoln, I always like to get Abraham Lincoln in where I can, but he said, character is like a tree and reputation like a shadow. The shadow is what we think of it. The tree is the real thing. Abraham Lincoln. I absolutely love that because yes, reputation is crucial, but behind that is the whole character, our character driving that reputation. We've got to care and we've got to invest in what we're doing for the people we say we're serving. So I'd like to open up the floor. I'd love you to share your thoughts, please. I mean, how do you see yourself as a marketplace? Does that concept strike a chord? What are we doing to improve our stall and setting ourselves out in front of the customers? And how are we focusing on making our offer the best it can be? What are you all doing about that? Are there any courses or actions you can recommend? What thoughts do you have on the importance of building and maintaining a reputation? Does that strike you as crucial? And have you experienced problems with that where you've seen people get into difficulty? So I'd love to hear from you. I'm going to throw open the floor. John's been listening in. Hi, John. So let's have a hand up. I'd love to hear some thoughts on Edward, how you found it, because I know you found this a big fracture. John, I'd love to hear from you on communicating, because you are a master communicator. Yeah,
thank you. I'm glad to be here. I wasn't sure if you're seeing my hand up. There you go. Okay, very good. So, and you've got aesthetics. Look, you've got a bookshelf. Look at you.
It isn't finished yet. I'm just moving. Just moving in, John. So yes, I've got the bookshelves and I'm getting the plants. So it's no more white wall, 3 white doors and a white wall.
Very nice. Yeah. Very nice.
I thought I had to deliver for Mark. Mark was expecting something great. I haven't got an aircraft carrier behind me, but I'm working on it.
Well, Adrian, thank you. And I got just with that Lincoln quote, I did have to tune in late. But just with that Lincoln quote, wow. So here's one of the ideas that have come to me from hearing this, is that you're one of the most important things I can do to build my reputation and to demonstrate character is, of course, to have some character, right, and to put some attention on that. And then the simplicity of it, I think, is to once I've decided who I am, to then show up consistently as that. Just to show up in general, just to show up. My goodness. You know, does this speak to the character and therefore the reputation of a man or woman who it can be relied upon? There was a time when I couldn't. I wrote about this in Integrity is Everything. There was a time when I was late for everything, sometimes like insanely late, like an hour late, right? And I didn't get it. I was, I guess, just coming out of the fog of, my adolescence and drug use and all that. But once I woke up to it, I was like, oh my goodness. Oh, how disrespectful. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Right. And so could people rely on me? No, I was the guy who would go from job to job and, do something for a couple of months and then move on to the next thing. No consistency in my life and very little purpose, right? And then when I, started recognizing things like character, I made it a point. Like once I had sort of I guess I could call it a spiritual awakening, right? When you finally realize, assuming you get to this point where your errors, there have been some errors consistently showing up in your ways. We were just talking about this last night with psycho-cybernetics, Maxwell Maltz, right? The innermost beliefs about ourselves and who we are as a character, right? This is getting into like self-image psychology. But in this one example, this one very simple example, I just decided that if I said it, it's going to happen. I give my word, it's going to happen. And people can rely upon me to show up. Look, there have been people in this group who have been hanging around here for over a year. And do you have any question in your mind that, if I'm alive and I'm walking around with a body, that I'm going to show up and do what I said I'm going to do? To me, that's like, man, we're 90% of the way home. So that's what's coming up for me, Adrian. And thank you for showing up, because I didn't today, because I knew you were handling this and you're somebody I can rely on to handle stuff. So thank you.
That's very kind of you, John. No, that ties us back into where I started with this whole thing, saying, let's take stock. It's the solstice month. And, we're about to have a change of tide with the year beginning to ebb, and we've got to be ready and we've got to take stock of our marketplace. And as you say, being reliable, having a reputation for doing things and turning up is all part of selling to people and attracting them to our stall. It's all tied up, because if they think you're an unreliable stall, they'll never go back. They'll never go back. And, I remember seeing it once I've talked a lot about markets today, but a market in France I used to go to regularly. There was a huge queue of people in front of one roast chicken stall, and practically nobody in front of the other. And I asked a couple of people about it, and they said, oh, no, that's not a good product. It's not, we can't rely on its quality. And they knew, those people knew, and they knew. And then, of course, the ones that didn't know said, well, why is everyone queuing up behind that one? And they just joined the queue. So half the battle is getting the message out there, and then you gain momentum and traction, and your reputation goes before you. They don't even know you. They've not even seen your message, but they've seen 100,000 people bouncing off your stuff saying, hey, there's got to be something going on here. So this is a very powerful compound engine that you're creating, because it just draws in momentum and people around you. That's how it strikes me, John. Anyway, John, thanks for those thoughts. And Edward has his hand up. I'm very pleased to hear from Edward, because he's gone through this firsthand and told us all about it a couple of months back.
Well, I want to tell you, this topic is really very intimate as far as I'm concerned. And the reason being is because, when I first came to this mastermind, I was needy, okay? I didn't realize that everything I needed was within me, and I could just seek it out. And what was going on is that, I had no presence online. I had none of the things that I need. And now, since hanging around this fire, I've, got my online stuff going, and it's getting better and better. And it's all because of the mindset change that I've had and the exposure that I've had, with this group. And, just hanging around the fire has allowed me to get warm. And I just want to, just tell you, continuing in this knowledge and really what it is wisdom. And, the application of that knowledge you're getting is priceless. And I'm excited about, being able to share the information with other people, but not only that, to keep on applying it, because it allows you to go from one level to the next in your business, in your personal life, and everything else. So kudos to the John Lavinia Mastermind. Thank you.
Well, that's very kind and kind thoughts. I mean, I'm particularly interested in what you told us. We had a Be Heard session one night. John was there, I was there. We had a few of us there having a chat. And you literally told us somebody had taken your marketplace away. You were in person in front of all these people doing, I think you said, over 1,000 miles a week. And suddenly you couldn't go anywhere. Somebody took the stall away, folded it up and walked off with it.
Absolutely.
And how are you responding to that, Edward? Are you finding that you can translate your skills into an online world? I mean, what advice have you got for everybody?
Well, what I've done is I've made a commitment to a 90-day madman cycle. Basically, what I'm doing is I'm continuing in the way I was doing things prior to, but I'm just doing it over the phone. I'm doing it with Zoom sessions. I'm doing it because, the key to the whole business and pretty much any business out there is activity. And the activity that I'm embarking upon has to do with making sure that I make the calls I'm supposed to make and making sure that I penetrate the market I'm trying to penetrate again, because I have a lot of clients on the books already. So I'm going back through them, and I'm also, getting, new leads from the online marketing I'm doing. But, like I said, it's in its infancy. The online marketing, it's still really trying to get to the maturation of it, but it's not there yet. But basically, the mentality has been changed. And that is, instead of, working on the mechanics of the online scenario, I'm working on the mechanics of the activity to delve into the online scenario. So that's what I'm doing.
Well, that's encouraging. So you found that, yes, it's challenging and it's a bit of a shock, but we can do it. We can do it. We've got to stay focused.
Well, you got to believe. You got to believe first. You got to know that it's already done, and you just got to walk in it. And if you walk in it and understand it's already done, then the mechanics and everything about it will come to you. And just like you talked about, creating that vibration, the vibration that you create is going to bring it to you. It really will. And you got to have faith, belief, acceptance. I mean, all the things that it takes to, be in alignment with those probabilities. So that's what I see.
No, I agree. I would love that. I mean, we've had a couple of sessions some months ago about vibrations and creating vibrations, which some people found hard to connect to, but effectively vibrations in a spiritual sense can just come down to enthusiasm in other terms. Enthusiasm, passion behind it does bring things and create movement and create contact and create results. People want to speak to you. People just want to speak to you. Go into any cafe or restaurant you care to name and see whether there are any staff there that just aren't putting on a great client smile on the client face and people wanting to deal with them. There are some. You do come across people who just shouldn't be there, who just are not smiling. They don't want to be there. It's quite clear. Well, what's going to happen? You don't want to talk to them. You don't want to deal with them. So I agree, Edward. We can engage, we can get out there, and with those vibrations, we can bring it to us. Absolutely agree with that. Absolutely agree. And I think everyone in this group, I believe, is doing that and can do that. There's some great personalities been shining through. So lovely to see it. Any other thoughts from anyone else? We're going to have a very short session. If there's no other thinking on this marketplace idea and the fact that we are a stall, we're a marketplace, we have to sell ourselves and do that with integrity, as John has told us. So I'm gonna, if there are no more thoughts on this, I'm gonna wrap it up. Just wanted to say really that, we've got to ask ourselves, how conscious are we? To use the words of Pink Floyd, can we tell a green field from a cold steel rail? Can we tell a smile from a veil? I love that song, and it really makes you think. Let's think about that. Let's go forward and conquer these opportunities. Let's assess, as I say, the ship at the moment of the turning of the tide for 2021. The tide is going out to great opportunity and taking us to this huge body of water that is the internet and the World Wide Web. And I'm going to leave you with Seth Godin again. He said, just because the tide is out doesn't mean that there is less water in the ocean. Another lovely, lovely thought and image to round up. So thanks everybody for joining today. Thanks for your thoughts. And EVA is on tonight, 5 p.m. Eastern time, 10 p.m. in the UK, 5 p.m. US Eastern. Corporate Curios, great session talking about teamwork, organization, businesses, managing people, relationships, you name it. EVA's got a lot of wisdom to share on dealing with real problems and real people. So look forward to seeing you on that session. Thanks everybody for joining. Great session for the JLSM today, 1st of June. See you later. Bye for now.
Thanks, Adrian.
Thank you. Bye. Bye, Janet.
Lots
Bye.
of good
Bye,
things
everybody.
to think about.
Oh, well, there you
Thank
go.
you.
Thanks, Janet. Thanks for tuning in. Thank you, everybody. Bye for now. Bye.